My name is Rowan Hale. I'm 35, and I've spent most of my life as the invisible one in a very visible family. The Hales are old Washington wealth, orchards, land, real estate, where success is measured by board seats and press mentions. My brother Caleb? Born golden. He speaks, people listen. He marries, the world sends gifts. Me. I design websites for nonprofits, keep to myself, and never quite fit into the manicured image the family demands. I've always been the quiet one, the compliant one, until I won $70 million and told no one. And the night Caleb got married, I found out why that silence may have saved my life. They were already planning to take everything. The wine at the reception tasted sharp, too dry, too red. I let it sit in the glass while orchestral covers of pop songs pulsed under the chandeliers. Caleb and Sloane glided across the room like magazine models. Sloane's laugh so effortless, her fingers grazing shoulders, lips curled in that way women like her are taught by mothers with high standards and sharper cheekbones. "Don't slouch, Rowan," my mother whispered as she passed behind me, "and fix your hair." I hadn't asked her to speak to me. I'd hoped she wouldn't. I touched my bun out of instinct. Still intact. The table I'd been assigned to was a few rows back from the main ballroom, closer to the kitchen doors. Beside me, Aunt Daphne tried to gossip about the guests, but her voice drowned in the music and the fog of my thoughts. I checked my phone. The numbers blinked back. $70 million. Still there. Still real. Still untouched. 3 days ago, I'd scratched the ticket while waiting in line for coffee. 3 random numbers. Then one more. Then the final digit that made my heart stop. I hadn't told anyone. Not Caleb. Not my parents. Not even Jamie, my ex who used to say I'd never be lucky. Not even at Russian roulette. People don't handle money. Not that kind. Not when you're the quiet one in a loud family. And yet, my phone buzzed again. I glanced down. Subject. Confirmation. Asset disclosure request. Hale Family Holdings. From redacted at calhounlegal.com. Attachments. Financial_petition_form_Hale. PDF. I opened the attachment. A form. Not just any form. Asset disclosure for marital consolidation. My name. My social security number. Signature line, Rowan A. Hale. Signed. Only I hadn't signed anything. My heart snapped to attention. My spine went cold. I scanned the metadata. Creation date, 2 days ago. Location tag, Wenatchee County, notary verified. What the hell? Rowan. Sloane's voice slid beside me. I flinched. She held a flute of champagne in one hand, the other resting on the back of my chair like she owned the air around it. "You look like you saw a ghost," she said, smiling. "Are you feeling okay?" "Fine," I lied. "Family stuff always stirs things up," she added softly. "But everything's going to settle down, once things are shared properly." She tapped her glass against mine. The word shared echoed too long in my head. "I didn't know we were sharing anything," I said. Her smile widened. "That's what marriages are for. And families." Then she walked away. The breath I'd been holding shattered in my chest. I walked out to the lodge's balcony. Snow drifted silently across the courtyard. Far below, the Columbia River pulsed, dark and cold. Something wasn't right. I pulled up my banking app. Error. Unavailable. I tried another. Locked for verification. Third app. Too many attempts. Please verify identity. I never touched it. I reached for my purse, fingers digging deep. The lottery ticket was still there. Folded. Uncreased. Intact. "Security," I whispered. Back inside, Caleb was laughing with a group of hedge fund ghouls I hadn't seen in years. I texted him. "Can we talk?" Privately. Now. No reply. Instead, another ping. Unknown number. "You weren't supposed to live to tell." The message blinked at me. "You weren't supposed to live to tell." My hands were slick. I reread it, thinking maybe it was spam. Maybe someone hacked my number. But it was real. Sent at 9:47 p.m. From a masked line. No callback. No contact. My clutch slid shut with a snap. I stood. Too fast. The lights in the ballroom dimmed again. Another slow, cinematic song. Sloane had returned to center stage. Caleb spun her in lazy circles. Her eyes found me as she twirled, and I swear her smile widened. She knew. Outside, snow clung to my windshield like frostbite. My fingers fumbled with the keys. The car beeped. I dropped into the seat and locked the doors before turning the engine over. I didn't go home. I drove east. Fast. Past the orchards. Past the silent dark of Chelan County. My phone vibrated again as I crossed the river. Another message. We already filed the claim for you. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. 2 hours later, I sat in Evan's downtown Tacoma office, lit only by the flicker of his second monitor. Who else has your signature? He asked, eyes flicking between his screen and me. No one, I said. I don't even sign birthday cards. He leaned back, stretching. Then someone's spoofing your biometric. My what? He turned the screen toward me. Digital signature recreation. AI modeled. Pretty standard now. They don't need your hand. They just need enough loops of your name. How many loops? Less than you think. A single scan contract. A health form. Old tax returns. Social media posts with stylus writing. He paused. You've ever posted your signature anywhere? No, I said, but someone else might have. His jaw tightened. Who would want control of your assets? I laughed. Once. Bitter. Depends how fast you want that list alphabetized. I'm serious, Rowan. So am I. He looked at me again. Tell me the number. 70. His eyes didn't blink. Million. 70.0. The silence that followed was the kind that doesn't make sound. It pulls it out of the room entirely. Evan stood. Then we're already 2 steps behind. He pulled data. I pulled memories. Between us, names, accounts, emails, timestamps. At 3:17 a.m., he froze mid-scroll. There. That. On screen, a corporate inquiry request filed under Marital Asset Merge, Phase 1. Requester, S. Mercer Advisory. Status, pending confirmation of claim origin. Authorization, internal, Hale Family Holdings. That's Sloane's last name, I whispered. Mercer. Did she keep it after marriage? I don't think she ever planned to change it. He rubbed his face. This firm only works with private estate structures, hedge funds, generational trusts. This is targeted. Why now? I asked. Why not before I won? Because they knew before you knew. The words hit the floor like broken glass. How is that possible? Lottery data breaches happen. Surveillance cams at purchase points. Facial rec runs. And some people. By inside access. I blinked. That's illegal. He didn't respond. What do I do? Evan met my eyes. You disappear. I'm not leaving. Then you fight, but you don't fight clean. I crashed at a chain hotel off the I-5 bypass. Curtains drawn. TV on low. No names used at check-in. I checked my banking apps again. 3 of them were offline. The 4th, my main, was now reading, pending federal verification. It hadn't read that 12 hours ago. I sat at the foot of the bed, knees bouncing, mind running. I remembered something my dad used to say. Every empire has a vault and a traitor. Sometimes they're the same. I hadn't spoken to my father in 6 months, since he handed over the family's legal control to Caleb. It's time, he'd said. Blood deserves trust. But blood also knows where the bodies are buried. And this time, I wasn't about to become one. Back on my phone, I opened the email again. The PDF. I zoomed in. Top left corner. Metadata tag. Location signed. Wenatchee McClellan Notary Services. Witness present. C. Hale. My breath caught. Caleb had witnessed it? Or his name had been used to? My stomach twisted. I tried calling him. Voicemail. I tried again. Voicemail. On the third try it rang. Rowan. Caleb's voice was clipped. Groggy. Is everything okay? Did you sign anything for me? What? No, what are you talking about? A document. Notarized. For asset transfer. Pause. I don't know what that means. You were listed as witness. Silence. I didn't, Rowan. Why are you calling like this? I didn't respond. You okay? I looked out the hotel window. A black SUV had just parked across the lot. Lights off. Engine running. No, I said. But I will be. A text pinged through at that moment. If you don't cooperate, your brother pays first. The black SUV was still there in the morning. Engine off. Windows fogged. Empty, or pretending to be. I didn't sleep. Just waited. Eyes on the door. Hand on the pepper spray I jammed into my hoodie pocket. I thought about the message again. If you don't cooperate, your brother pays first. Not subtle. I called Evan from the bathroom. Water running to cover the sound. My voice cracked. They're threatening Caleb. Then they're getting desperate, he said. You have leverage. Leverage gets people killed. Not if you move faster. Midday. I drove to Evan's office again, sticking to side roads. No music. Just tires on asphalt and my heartbeat riding shotgun. He met me outside. Gray hoodie. Dark sunglasses. He looked more like a runner avoiding paparazzi than a forensic data analyst. We didn't speak until we were inside the building. Second floor. Blinds down. Evan handed me a tablet. Watch this, he said. Surveillance footage. Fuzzy timestamp. Sloan. At the Washington State Lottery Commission. 5 days ago. She was alone. Talking to the clerk. Smiling. Handing something across the counter. A file. Pause. I zoomed in. The label on the folder. R.A. Hale claim verification. My stomach turned over. She tried to claim it. No, Evan corrected. She ran a verification probe to see if the ticket was valid and under your name. How would she know I had it? Evan didn't answer. I watched her leave the office, heels clicking like gunshots. She turned to look directly at the camera. Paused. Smiled. That wasn't a mistake. People don't wear masks all the time, I muttered. Sometimes they take them off right before the kill. Back in the car, Evan handed me a burner phone. If they contact you again, record it. Forward it to me. I'll isolate the metadata. I thought those numbers were encrypted. They are. But desperation makes people sloppy. I nodded. What else do I need to know? You're not paranoid. You're a target. Is that supposed to comfort me? No, but at least now you're awake. I returned to my apartment for the first time in 2 days. Mail stacked up. My landlord had slid a notice under the door. Late rent. That was impossible. Auto pay was set up months ago. I logged into my bank account. Or tried to. Access denied. Tried another app. Too many failed login attempts. Someone was already inside. My hand shook. I unplugged the router. Pulled the SIM card from my phone. Cut it in half with scissors. Paranoia is just pattern recognition with teeth, I whispered. I opened the closet. Pulled out my fireproof lockbox. Ticket still there. Cash. Passport. Burner phone. Something else caught my eye. A red envelope I didn't remember putting in there. No name. No address. Just a small gold seal. I opened it. Inside a single printed line. You should have shared. Now you'll learn what it costs to keep secrets. I dropped it. Then I tore the whole box apart. No bugs. No trackers. Nothing obvious. So how did they get in? At 6:11 p.m., my phone buzzed again. New number. No name. I picked up. Rowan Hale. Who is this? A pause. Male voice. Cold. The person who gets what you don't value. Click. Deadline. I stood frozen. That voice wasn't unfamiliar. Low. Measured. Like someone used to speaking in boardrooms. My mind ran through every executive I'd ever met. Then one face landed. Hard. Nolan Langford. Family attorney. On retainer for 20 years. Used to joke he'd be buried with our family secrets. But he wasn't a joke anymore. I drove to the old Hale estate. Snow had started falling again. The road slick with ice and history. Lights were on inside. Shadows moved behind lace curtains. I didn't knock. I still had the back gate code. 3-1-7-7, my birthday and Caleb's. My father's favorite symmetry. The gate clicked open. Back door was unlocked. Inside smelled the same. Leather, cedar, and bloodline. I moved through the hall. Past the piano. Past the portrait of our great-grandfather. A light was on in the study. I opened the door. Judith Hale was sitting in the leather chair, glass of wine in hand. She didn't look surprised to see me. I wondered when you'd come, she said. You signed it, I said. You gave them permission to steal from me. Don't be dramatic, she said. It's not theft. It's consolidation. I never signed anything. Because you weren't supposed to. She sipped her wine. Some assets belonged to the family, not the individual. They weren't yours to take. She smiled. Oh, darling, that's where you're wrong. Her phone buzzed. She ignored it. You always thought being quiet was a virtue, she continued. But silence only works when you control the room. I stepped forward. She didn't flinch. Then she said casually, Caleb's already gone. I stopped. What do you mean? Her smile held. Then she raised her glass again. Call it test. My phone buzzed. New message. He didn't scream. I didn't sleep. Not really. Not after the message. Not after the way Caleb didn't answer my voice or my fear. Outside, snow coated the street like ash. The SUV from the hotel was gone. But I knew the pattern now. Shadows hover before they strike, and no place is silent when you're hunted. The burner phone buzzed again. They want you to think he's gone. They want you to think you lost. No number. No trace. I opened the car door and let the cold bite my face. My breath came in quick bursts. Courage isn't absence of fear, I whispered. It's knowing fear and acting anyway. Cool air filled my lungs, burning like fire. I drove to Evans, east side of the bridge, industrial blocks, nothing fancy. No one would expect me there. Inside, the lights were too bright. The blinds were drawn low. Evan didn't look up. He didn't need to. Rowan, he said. His voice was gravel, cautious. Where's Caleb? My voice was ice. Evan exhaled slow. Last ping from his phone was here near an old dock warehouse. Not downtown. Far. My pulse raced. Overtime? Undercover? I asked. No. Filmed. But not by government cams. He pulled a USB toward me. Velcroed envelope. Watch. I plugged it into his screen. Footage. Grainy. Late night. Caleb. Handcuffed. Kneeling. One man with a raised voice I couldn't place. Another silhouette standing behind him. But the worst. Caleb wasn't resisting. He was cooperating. My stomach dropped. Cutscene. I drove out of his office fast. Wheels spinning through slush. I kept the burner clutched in my hand like a lifeline. Outside, the city seemed asleep. But I could feel eyes everywhere, mirrors, passing cabs, reflections. Someone was always watching. The next message arrived as I reached my car. Stop chasing shadows, or he dies next. I didn't flinch. I smacked the lock button and sprinted. Inside my jacket, tucked in the inner seam, was the lottery ticket laminated and guarded like evidence in a crime scene. My secret, my leverage, my burden. I pulled it out. 70 million glared back at me like a burning coin. Money is a tool, not a shield, I muttered under my breath. I had learned that on day 3 of this nightmare. Then I remembered Judith's words in the Hale estate. Silence only works when you control the room. I didn't control anything yet. Not the money, not my brother, not my fate, and that scared me. I drove out of the parking lot then, west, toward the waterfront warehouse district. The trace Evan found. I parked 3 blocks away, crouched behind a rusted bus stop sign, lights flickering, wind like thin ice. I pulled the burner phone out, dialed the number Evan gave me. Valerie, I whispered. A beat, then a voice low and exact. Give me coordinates. I sent the location. No sudden moves, she said. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. I crept forward. The warehouse was black steel and broken glass, a skeleton of shadows. I pushed the door. It creaked once. Inside, cold. Dead air. Flashlight on. Concrete floor. Pallets. And then, movement. A man in a dark hoodie. He turned. Rowan Hale, he said, voice smooth. I almost didn't recognize him. It was Nolan. Blood trickled from a split on his cheek, but his eyes were sharp. I knew you'd come, he said. I didn't answer. I kept walking. Why? I asked. Why him? Why this? Nolan lifted his chin like he expected a fight. It's not personal, he said. It's profitable and necessary. Necessary. I echoed. Abuse wrapped in necessity is still abuse. He smiled. Thin. Cruel. This is bigger than your money. It's control. Power. Legacy. I stepped closer. Money without freedom is just paper with a heartbeat, I said. He laughed. Nice line, he said. Too bad it won't save him. That made my blood rush. Where is he? Before he answered, the lights exploded on. Valerie. Gun in hand. Crystal precision. Drop it, Nolan. Nolan didn't flinch, but the other man in shadows he did. Another figure stepped forward. Tall. Heavy boots. Distinct gait. Caleb. Watchful. Eyes sunken but alive. My breath stopped. I blinked. Caleb wasn't broken. He was waiting. Waiting for a chance. Nolan sneered. You brought a friend. Valerie didn't lower her weapon. He's no friend of yours. Caleb's eyes met mine. No fear. Just truth. He took a step forward. I'm done hiding, he said, and done obeying. Nolan's smile twisted. Then there's only one path left. He pulled something from his pocket. A phone. A live feed. The warehouse doors behind me. They weren't empty. Figures lined the shadows, armed, ready. My heart thumped. The phone screen glowed. A countdown. 20 seconds. I felt Valerie's hand on my shoulder. Get behind me. I didn't move. I watched Caleb. He raised his voice once. Listen to me. The men in the shadows hesitated, just for a heartbeat. That heartbeat stretched, and in that moment, I stepped forward. 70 million wasn't just cash. It was leverage. It was truth. It was power. I reached into my jacket and pulled out the laminated ticket, held it up. Anyone wants this, I said, voice low and sharp. You have to go through me. Silence. Then a crackle over speaker. You're playing a dangerous game, Nolan spat. I didn't care. Danger is how you win, I said. The countdown hit 0, but nothing blew. Nothing burst. Instead, the warehouse doors behind us opened. Valerie's backup. Federal agents in tactical gear. Cuffs. Warrants. Lights. Nolan backed up, stunned. Caleb's breath exhaled slow. I stepped toward him. He took my hand. Together, we walked toward the agents. Behind us, Nolan struggled. "Money doesn't buy loyalty," he yelled. I didn't flinch. I just watched him go. Valerie exhaled. "You did good." "No," I said. "We did." And as we walked out into the cold, bright lights, I realized survival wasn't the end. It was the beginning of truth, of justice, of freedom, and most of all, of silence finally spent. The glass slipped from Judith's hand. Shattered. She didn't flinch. "You're lying," I said. My voice didn't sound like mine. It was lower, sharper, like it had been dragged through broken promises. Judith just smiled. "You're still naive enough to think truth is owed to you." I stepped forward. She raised a finger, not in warning but control. "Go home, Rowan, or whatever version of home you think you have left." I didn't answer. I turned and walked out fast, every step like fire under my shoes. Caleb was gone, or at least someone wanted me to believe he was. Outside, the snow had picked up. The black SUV? Gone. I scanned the street. Too quiet. I slid behind the wheel, locked the doors, and pulled out the burner. Evan picked up on the first ring. "You're late calling." "I think Caleb's missing." Silence. Judith told me. Then I got a message. Just 4 words. He didn't scream. Evan cursed. "That's not a bluff." "You think they took him?" "I think it's worse. I think they want you to think they took him." My stomach flipped. Why? Because fear makes people compliant, and fear makes people make mistakes. Cut scene. Back at Evans, 2 laptops open, monitors flickering with surveillance logins, public DMV feeds, third-party tracking software, and 1 map. A GPS trace left by Caleb's phone before it went dark. Last ping. 5:02 a.m. Waterfront. Warehouse District. I grabbed my coat. "You're not going alone," Evan said. "I have to." "Rowan." "If they have him, I'm not giving them another second." Evan hesitated. Then he handed me a second burner, already hot-wired. "If anything goes wrong, call this number. Valerie. She's ex-FBI. She owes me a favor." The warehouse was silent, a hulk of steel and shadow, the kind of place people disappear inside. I parked 2 blocks away, walked. Every crunch of ice beneath my boots felt like a scream. Inside, the air was cold and metallic, smelled like rust and mold. I crept through broken pallets, rows of crates. My flashlight swept across the concrete. Empty, empty, empty. Then movement. I swung the beam. A figure. Tied. Slouched. Caleb. He didn't move. I ran forward, breath caught halfway between panic and rage. Closer. Rope. Blood. But not a lot. Just enough to scare. I reached out. The light snapped on. A voice. "You came alone. Brave. Or stupid." Nolan. He stepped out from the dark, flanked by 2 men in tactical gear. Their eyes were dead. "I knew you'd come," he said. I stayed frozen. Caleb still hadn't moved. "I want my brother," I said. "You want a lot of things. Safety. Truth. Control." He nodded toward one of the men. Gun drawn. "Why?" I demanded. Nolan stepped closer. "Because we built this family's empire. But the problem with empires is sometimes the wrong heir gets the keys." My chest burned. "This isn't about inheritance." "No," he said softly. "It's about obedience." He turned to Caleb, nudged him. Caleb stirred. Still alive. Barely. I moved forward. A step. The gun rose. "Don't," Nolan said. "I don't want to kill you. Not yet." I looked him in the eyes. "You'd rather steal everything slowly." "No, Rowan. I'd rather keep what should have never been yours." A noise, sharp metallic, cut the air. Back door. Crack. Echo. Gunshot. One of Nolan's men dropped. Then the second. Chaos. Nolan turned. Another shot. His shoulder exploded in red. I ducked. From the shadows came a voice. Low. Precise. Drop it, counselor. Valerie. She stepped into the light. Black jeans, combat boots, a Glock in her hand and fire in her eyes. You said I owed you one, Evan, she muttered. Consider it paid. I scrambled to Caleb. Untied him. He groaned, eyes fluttering open. You're okay, I whispered. I got you. Valerie had Nolan on the floor, gun to his temple. He smiled through blood. You think this ends here? She pressed the barrel harder. You're not important enough to be feared. But I wasn't looking at him. I was looking at Caleb. His eyes. Something in them shifted. Not relief. Recognition. Not gratitude. Complicity. I froze. You knew, I whispered. He blinked. You knew they were coming for me. No answer. Valerie looked at me. You ready for the next part? My voice came cold and clear. I think I've just become someone I don't recognize. The interrogation room was cold. Not police station cold, something worse. Controlled. Sterile. Empty of empathy. Nolan sat across from me, wrists cuffed to the table, blood crusted on his collar, but his eyes still burned like he had nothing to lose. I said nothing for a long time. He finally cracked a smile. You think this is victory? No, I said. I think it's containment. His smirk widened. You don't cage people like me, Rowan. You just delay us. Valerie leaned against the door, silent, watching. I slid a photo across the table. His eyes flicked down. Stopped. It was a picture of a deed transfer. One dated the morning of Caleb's wedding. Signed. Stamped. Filed. I had a backup, I said. The trust reverts to me. Legally. Irrevocably. He blinked. I leaned in. And I used the $70 million to buy every bit of leverage you built. His smile disappeared. You funded the takeover, I said, voice low. And I used your own blueprints to tear it all down. Why, he asked finally. You could have run. Hidden. Lived rich and anonymous. Because I wanted to end it. I stood. People like you mistake silence for weakness. But silence is just waiting for the right moment to speak. Valerie opened the door. Time's up. As we walked out, Nolan's voice followed me. There's always another heir. You can't kill legacy. I didn't turn around. Legacy only matters when someone remembers it fondly. Cut to a courtroom. The Hale family's assets, laid out like a buffet for the public to dissect. Judith on the stand, brittle and blank. Valerie's evidence airtight. Evan's logs cross-verified. Every secret out. Every name named. Every lie pinned to a wall and burned with truth. 1 month later, I stood on the edge of the waterfront where Caleb's phone had gone dark. He wasn't dead. He wasn't in prison. He was gone. Vanished with a clean trail and a quiet shame no camera could capture. Valerie thought he had cut a deal. Immunity for silence. I didn't ask. Some betrayals don't need confirmation. They live under the skin like old injuries, always tender when it rains. I sold the house, cut the accounts, liquidated the shell companies. Then I took the last $1 million and gave it away. Cancer research, domestic abuse shelters, art programs in failing schools. When people asked why, I told them, because freedom isn't having more, it's needing less. Final cut, a coffee shop in Beacon Hill. Small, warm, safe. Valerie sat across from me, stirring her espresso with surgical precision. You're calm, she said. I nodded. Peace is louder than vengeance once you let it be. She sipped. You know they'll try again. The next cousin. The next firm. A stray attorney with a god complex. Let them try. You're not scared. I looked out the window. No, because the quiet girl finally learned how to roar. She smiled. You ever think about writing this all down? Sometimes, but people wouldn't believe it. They don't have to, she said. You survived. That's enough. No, I replied. Surviving is the beginning. Living with it, that's the real victory. She raised her cup. To starting over. I clinked mine against hers. To endings that don't destroy us. Outside, the wind carried the last dead leaves of the season across the sidewalk. I watched them swirl, unbothered, free. For the first time in a long time, I felt like one of them.